Come back, still looking at black consciousness. Now we want to look at the events of June 16, 1976. Now you'll notice that on the 16th of June, there was a march of students carrying placards. Most of these placards were written down with Afrikaans. Those who were marching gathered at Orlando Stadium in Soweto. The mood of excitement, expectations, not anger, confrontation. The learners were confronted by police using tear gas, bullets, and these policemen were shooting at these people who were unarmed. Wave of violence, protest actions, barricades, stoning, arson, killings, and rioting. Further harsh police actions, countrywide protests. So you notice that from the events of June the 16th, because of what transpired there was further harsh police actions, countrywide protests, involvement of the whole communities because of what transpired during that day. There was a formation of Black Parents Association. The forms of protests included boycotts, clashes with the police, destruction of property, communities had stayaways. Now, let's look at the impact of the Soweto uprising and also look at the impact of the protests and the Soweto uprising on South Africa as a whole. There was disruption in education, meaning the government backed down on the language policy. But schooling disrupted until the following year, meaning from June the 16th, the learning and education processes were actually disrupted until the following year. Now, there was state reaction. The state reacted to that. Student leaders detained. 1,000+ students were killed. 1,000+ students were wounded. Now, increased support for armed struggle. Links between students and protesters and the ANC grew because of that incident. Thousands fled country and joined the ANC and the pact in exile. Armed struggle increased with new recruits. So you notice that it also had a negative image on South Africa. South Africa was internationally criticized, meaning that the international criticism of South Africa increased. Then it destroyed attempts by government to end isolation. Now South Africa became isolated because of the particular event. As I said before, that the Soweto uprising was a turning point in South African history. Business leaders put pressure on the government to reform because businesses were affected by the bad image that was actually portrayed by June the 16th. Now, there was further repression of opposition. In 1977, 17 anti-apartheid organizations with links to black consciousness were banned. For example, for the SASO, the SAZN, the BPC, the SSRC, these organizations were banned. Steve Biko was killed in police detention. So you'll notice that the impact of black consciousness on students was positive because they took it positive and they wanted to fight against the separate development. Because of their identity, they wanted to gain good education, they wanted to get good housing, amongst all these other things. So this just marks the end of the impact of the philosophy of black consciousness to students. On our next tutorial, we're going to look at the source-based question that actually focuses on the aims of black consciousness and also on the impact that it had on students. We're also going to look at how we attempt the source-based question, how we look at the interpretation question, how we comment, how we compare sources, up until we look at the paragraph question. I hope we all understood, but before we sum up, we're also going to revisit and have a lecture that is going to cover all the all the lessons, so that if you missed out on one of the tutorials, at least you can be able to actually get something that is going to benefit you for the national examinations that are going to be coming by the end of the year, and also in preparation for the June examinations and for the preliminary examinations. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your time. Stay tuned.